Today we will analyze data using dot plots. And using these dot plots is going to be a lot like the bar graphs that we did recently. We're going to be making part to whole comparisons and part to part comparisons. Now, dot plots show frequency. They show how many times something happened or how many pieces of data there are. For this particular problem, we're talking about the number of electronic devices per home. So there is one home that has 0 devices. That means that they took data, they found out that there was one home where somebody had no electronic devices, right? Here there are 2 homes with 1 electronic device, right? And then here on the other end of the number line, we can see that there are 2 homes where somebody actually has 10 electronic devices, which means there's 10 iPads, phones, computers, tablets, whatever it is, right? So again, a dot plot shows frequency. This particular problem says Lee surveyed 50 people to find how many electronic devices were in their homes. The results are shown in the dot plot. What percent of the homes have more than 3 devices? So again, the question wants to know what percent of the homes have more than 3 devices. Here, we're making a part to whole comparison. Usually whenever you're finding a percent, we're making a part to whole comparison. We'll come back to that concept. Now, step 1. First of all, we need to know the total or the whole number of people surveyed. If we read the problem, it already tells us that there are 50 people. Okay. Now, the other way that we could determine this is we could go through and we could count every single dot. And if we count every single dot, that should add up to 50. And then from there, we want to know how many people have more than 3 devices. So these are the people with 0 devices. These are the people with 1 device. Again, we're looking to find out how many homes or what percent of the homes have more than 3. So we're going to look at all the homes that have 4 devices and up. And we're going to count all of those homes. If you count every single dot, and we go through and we count all the dots, if I count all the little dots, then we end up with 37 dots. Right? Now we have our part to whole comparison. So we have a fraction that's showing us the percent of homes that have more than 3 devices. So 37 homes have more than 3 devices out of a total number of 50. Second step is we're going to have to convert 37 out of 50 into a percentage. Now we can do this one of 2 ways. A lot of you guys know how to convert fractions into percents by converting to a decimal, which means that we would divide, top dog goes in the house, 37 divided by 50. Well, 50 can't go into 3, can't go into 7. So now we're going to need to add our decimal and then a couple of zeros. And then if we do the math and we go through, we end up with 74 hundredths or 0.74. Now, when you end up with 0.74, we can multiply that by 100, or a lot of us like to do Dr. Pepper, where we convert decimals to percents. We're moving the decimal 2 spaces to the right, which equals 74. Now, that's one way of converting a fraction into a percent, or some of you guys like to use the proportion method, where you use the percent proportion and you make a proportion equal to 100, because we know that all percents are out of 100. And then you can either cross multiply here, or you can use what you know about equivalent fractions. So if I ask myself, what do I have to multiply 50 by in order to get 100? Most of you guys know that that's 2. We have to multiply 50 by 2 in order to get 100. So the same thing, we would have to multiply 37 by 2 in order to get 100, which means 37 times 2 is 74. You could have also cross multiplied. 50 times x is 50x equals 37 times 100 equals 3700. And then you could have solved, divided both sides by 50. Again, you would have came up with the same thing, x equals 74. So our solution, or our answer here to the problem, what percent of the homes have more than 3 devices? 74%. Now, most of the problems that you do involving dot plots, again, are going to be making part-to-whole comparisons, part-to-part comparisons, or sometimes they just want to know if you can read the dot plot. So if I asked you, how many more homes have 6 devices to the number of homes that have 2 devices, we would be looking at the number of homes that have 6 devices, right? In this case, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? I'm just going to do that math over here. So there's 6 homes that have 6 devices. And then if we look at the number of electronics that have 2 devices, there's 3. So we do 6 minus 3 equals 3. So I don't want you to overthink it if they're asking you to compare, like how many more. If they ask how many more, that's just going back to elementary school, and you're just counting and then finding the difference. So again, dot plots measure frequency. We were able to find out the total number of dots, and then we were able to make a part-to-whole comparison and find the percentage of homes that have more than 3 devices.